The New York Islanders have signed defenseman Scott Mayfield to a 5-year contract extension. I've got all the details, and I'll give you my thoughts coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. On this channel, we review and discuss all 31 NHL teams with an unbiased opinion. So if you love hockey, consider hitting that subscribe button now so you don't miss anything. Alright, so let's discuss the new contract extension from the New York Islanders is 6'5" defenseman Scott Mayfield. Obviously, Mayfield was originally drafted by the Islanders back in 2011. He was a high second-round draft pick and has been developing in their system ever since. Now, the part of this contract that I find a little bit unusual is that he really is just starting to establish himself as a regular NHL defenseman, and he's been given a 5-year extension. Now, the money is not huge on this deal. He was given an amount of $1.45 million per year over 5 years. So here are my thoughts. The guy's drafted in 2011. He's been developing in their AHL farm system. He goes through his ELC contract, his entry-level deal. That expires. He, at that point, didn't have a whole lot of NHL experience, but seemed to be developing in their farm system. They gave him a 2-year extension, which is coming up now, to end of this year into next year. And really, at this point in his career, he has 65 NHL games to his credit. Now, this year seems to be the first year that he's really kind of started to really establish himself as a regular player. I mean, if you take a look at their defense score right now, they've got Johnny Boychuk and Nick Leddy both locked up long term. They have defensemen Calvin DeHaan and Thomas Hickey. They're both coming up for new contracts as well. Not sure if they're both going to be re-signed or not. I'm not really sure how the Islanders feel about those two guys right now. I think DeHaan's been injured a fair bit this year as well, so that's not helping his cause any. So I understand Mayfield's had an opportunity to play more and really establish himself. He's a big guy, 6'5", seems to be pretty decent defensively, but I don't know, I'm a little surprised. I mean, we see a lot of players come through their entry-level deals with more experience and better numbers, and they're only getting, I mean, if they're a superstar, they're getting a long-term deal. But a lot of these guys often get bridge contracts anywhere from 2, 3, 4 years. So I'm a little bit surprised that at his level of experience, he's only got 65 NHL games, that he's been able to lock up a 5-year contract. Now, in the past, I've seen the Islanders do some crazy things, but not. It's been a while since that's happened. I mean, obviously, the old contract with goalie Rick DiPietro will probably be haunting them for years to come. So I'm not suggesting that this is that type of deal. Obviously, the money is not real big here, so it's not so much the amount per year that really surprises me. It just surprises me that a player of his magnitude, yes, he seems to have a fair bit of potential. I don't blame them for re-signing him, but for 5 years, for a guy who only has 65 games experience, seems to be a little bit much to me. They've already got 2 other defensemen locked up. Counting this year, they have 5 years on their deal. They got this year plus 4 more for Boychuk and Leddy. That just really locks up their defense a long term. I mean, in some ways you could argue that's a good thing, but I'm not so sure that they really have the greatest defense here. I mean, they could use Boychuk and Leddy are pretty solid guys, but they don't have that #1 stud defenseman. I mean, I know those two guys often they can play first pairing minutes, but they don't have a guy like a Doughty or Carlson or Victor Hedman or a guy of that magnitude. I don't understand the contract. 5 years I think is a little bit too long for a player of so little experience. But let me know in the comments, what do you think? Especially you Islanders fans out there have probably seen the guy play more than I have. Is this contract justified with 5 years? I mean, I think the $1.4 million part isn't too bad if they're that keen on his play this year. But personally, I probably would have done a 1 or 2 year contract extension to let himself get a little bit more established and go from there. I mean, obviously from his perspective, he's going on 5 years developing since his draft and since he started in their farm system. So he had an opportunity to take the money. I don't blame him. At the same time, though, he could have possibly played, another year or two, developed into even better defensemen and maybe cashed in bigger money. Hard to say which side really won, and we probably won't know that for a few years. But Islanders fans, leave some comments. Let me know. Do you think this contract is justified? Obviously, that's a lot of players on your back end that's locked up long term now, so let me know what you think. Don't forget as well, we have a subscriber giveaway coming up as soon as we hit 200 subscribers. So if you're new to the channel and you've been watching our videos, please consider subscribing today. There's a link in the description to watch the video where we announce all the details of the giveaway. Keep watching Top Shelf Hockey.